I can say one day, if there's ever going to be something my channel is fondly remembered for, it's going to be none other than the Pikmin Clone series. Or Anime Pizzeria. I've enjoyed the 3 episodes in the series so far, and it's a really strange feeling to be playing clones of a franchise while never really diving into said franchise. It's like I'm over here growing up with bootleg games while everybody else played the originals. I was also supposed to have the 4th episode of the series before this video came out, but I just couldn't do it. I was feeling guilty. I'm over here playing clones and acting like I know how Pikmin works, and it's making me feel like a fraud. How can I really give you guys a good review of clones if I've never even beaten a Pikmin game? Well, today, I set out to change that. I asked my community if it's finally time to play a Pikmin game, a real Pikmin game, one that actually stars Olimar and the Pikmins. No more fucking monkeys, no more fucking impas, no more fucking... I actually like Tinykin. And without a doubt of asking this question, it was a surprising yes. I even got recommended the Wii version because they have refined controls. I think it's safe to say that my community can no longer hold on. They're starving and begging for a real Pikmin game, a real taste of what Nintendo, the main man, has made. Well, I can't keep my community waiting anymore. I say, let's go ahead and dive into a real Pikmin game and see what the hype is truly all about. I again asked my community if we should play Pikmin, but never said which one, so here we are. I promise, one day we will dive into an actual mainline game, but I wanted to do this way before I really played the main ones. It's because I felt if I had played the other 3 games and dived into this, my mindset would be like everyone else, either thinking this game was a waste of time and shit because it's not Pikmin 4, or just seeing it as a meh boring platform. I do feel I can offer a way more interesting look just because of the fact I don't have any nostalgia to Pikmin or even pre-existing ideas of it besides of the small amount I know about the games, and what better way to compare or review a spin-off by having other Pikmin clones experience under my belt. I want to come at this with an open mind and really see if this game is as bad as everyone says it is, or if it's just another Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival situation where because it came out before the actual game, it was thrown away and hated for the sake of its release before the main game and not over what it really had to offer. This game was also not made in-house, so I still actually haven't played an official Pikmin game from Nintendo themselves, but it was made by the people who brought you the 3DS Street Pass Mii Plaza, Yoshi's New Island, and Balan Wonderland. They also did Terra Wars, which is just sad. So, for those who don't know what Terra Wars is, it was supposed to be this big mobile RPG game, even having the creator of Final Fantasy backing it up and helping with the development, while getting a crossover story in Final Fantasy 15 that's still there to this day if you want to try it out. But the problem was, with all this hype and all this stuff surrounding it, this game didn't even last a year, and it's so embarrassing to go play the crossover now, because she's all like this at the end. I'll see you soon! I'll see you soon, Noctis! Yeah. Fucking hell. It didn't even last a fucking year, dude. Oh my god, this fucking game. But looking at their games, a lot of them are just remakes of 3DS games or mobile games with poor reviews. I always really wonder why Nintendo would give their IPs to devs like this, but maybe Hey Pikmin can work even with these guys holding it down. I do know that the style can work, since the next Pikmin clone I'm talking about was a game with a Nintendo IP that did a similar take on the Pikmin style. Again, you see why I planned for this to be out after, because now I can't give away what the video is going to be about. Well, I say let's dive into this and see what Hey Pikmin and RZS has to offer. Looking at the story of Hey Pikmin, it's pretty similar to Pikmin 1, with Olimar getting hit by a meteor and crashing into the planet. I really think someone needs to check if Olimar lied about having a CDL or something, because he crashes non-stop, and I'm pretty sure we're like one more crash away from getting sued by somebody. After you crash, this robot buddy tells you that all our fuel is gone, so we can't leave unless we get over 30,000 of it back. With having nothing else to do besides the task or die, we set off to refuel our ship. It seems though the ship has functionality with everything else, so Olimar isn't timed due to dying from lack of oxygen or whatever. You even get brief moments of him just relaxing in the ship before the next mission. So one thing about the game that I really can't tell, but I think this game goes for the same look as the old Donkey Kong Country games, where everything is pre-rendered in 3D but turned into sprites. The only things being actual 3D models are the enemies and the character models like Olimar and the Pikmin. It becomes a lot easier to see what's 2D and 3D for the stages and backdrops when you play this game at higher resolutions. If this is the case, then I think they did such a good job at this. Accompanied with the music, this game can look downright gorgeous at times. The lighting and seeing how some of the enemies actually are living creatures and feel like they belong in the areas and not just there as roadblocks, it's quite nice and, dare I say, relaxing. The game has us start pretty quickly in the first level, and the robot friend tells us to head over to a location where he found a faint signal. That's when we run into the Pikmin, but they run off. You're able to call the Pikmin when you see them hiding with your whistle. This game makes the Pikmin seem more interesting, as they will have these cutscenes of them interacting with each other or enemies in the level. They're cute and give you a small break from your task at hand. You can also skip these scenes after you've seen them at least once, so don't worry about these dragging on if you have to play through the level more than once. The Pikmin control just like how you would expect, but in 2D. You can throw them to grab items or obstacles to bring back to you or build bridges. You can throw them to take out enemies, and it's satisfying to have a bunch of the Pikmin dive bomb an enemy in your way. A unique thing the game does over most 3DS games is how they use both screens on the 3DS, but the way I recorded this makes it look disorienting. Fair warning, this game can be a little annoying to play on anything besides actual hardware. See, the top screen and bottom screen don't exactly line up because it's taking into account the space between the screens on the 3DS. See, if you're like me, playing on a single monitor, you end up not having that space, meaning it can be hard to really tell how far away something is on the top screen versus the bottom screen. But this is entirely an issue on my part, and on actual 3DS, I'm pretty sure this works fine. The game controls pretty well with you having to use a stylus to throw Pikmin and tap on things while you only need the D-pad to move around as Olimar. With this setup I have, it's quite weird but does surprisingly work. The only real issue I have is aiming can be a little annoying, but not the game's fault. What is the game's fault is, for whatever reason, if an enemy is in front of you, they become the biggest threat to ever exist. Trying to aim at enemies in front of you is fucking horrible. Pikmin can't be thrown straight in front of you, except for one I'll cover later. They all get thrown at an arc, and this arc can cause you to overthrow or underthrow, trying to figure out how much power you need to use for your throw. One of the biggest things I noticed while watching other reviewers talk about this game, they complained heavily on this aspect and how it turned this Pillsbury boy here to the most threatening thing in the game. But there's something I never hear anyone talk about that you can do, nor does the game, as far as I can remember, explain this. You can easily fix this problem, and it's way more simpler than you think. Just tap the screen. If you tap, you will always throw at the exact power and height you need. It turns these enemies into what they're supposed to be, worthless. It even helps for some of the bosses that require aiming between things to hit. Again, this game should make this more clear. You just have to tap, but it doesn't. Weirdly enough, there is something that does show you that this is the control method you can use, and it's one of the commercials. I didn't even learn about this till I was already halfway through the game, by the way. This right here fixes the majority of the control and aiming issues I had for this review, so highly recommend if you stopped playing because of the aiming or were put off by it, just tap the screen. There still is some issues here and there, like the hitboxes and things like that, but for the most part the aiming issue gets fixed. There's also collectibles in the level you can get for more fuel. One thing that really caught me off guard was the fact they had little references to other Nintendo games, kind of like what the Great Cave Offensive did in Kirby. You have some collectibles that are little subtle references to things like Ocarina of Time from Zelda. Then you have some that are so apparent what they're referencing, like this Game Boy cart for Donkey Kong Land or the NES cart for Super Mario Bros. I would highly recommend looking for these since they give you the most sparkle out of anything. Lots of these collectibles can add upwards to about 300 or more seeds to your total count if you get them. If you make sure to grab as many as you can, you should easily hit the 30,000 seeds by the halfway point of the game. After beating the stage, you get a new area called Pikmin Park, and this area is kind of useless unless you're trying to get all the collectibles for 100%, which means you better be ready to clear 39 clutter spots to get all the collectibles here. That's also taking into account if you know exactly which ones you should clear. In total, there's over 65 spots to search. You also can't look at every spot till you get all the Pikmin, which will take around the halfway point of the game. Luckily, the game doesn't make you stay on the screen or anything, and you clear clutter spots just by playing the normal game. It's still annoying to do for 100%, but it does offer some extra Sparkleum seeds, but at most, it's like 50 if you're lucky. You can bring the Pikmin back from stages to help look for clutter, but I'll be honest, I don't think having more Pikmin in a certain type actually helps you find things faster. The maturity of the Pikmin also doesn't matter either, meaning you could have all Pikmin at full bloom, and they are just as good as Pikmin not blooming. There's also these Copellers that carry Sparkleum at the central hub area of Pikmin Park, but I just ignore these guys since I don't really want my Pikmin to stop clearing clutter, and I never keep any at the central hub anyways. The Amiibos also play a role in this game, and weirdly enough, the Olimar and Pikmin Amiibo make this already simple game even easier, but the Pikmin Amiibo gives the Pikmin Park some more use than before, by allowing you to spawn in Pikmin in levels. The more Pikmin you have in the park, the more Pikmin you can spawn into the levels with Amiibos. That's it. This Amiibo is now 60 to 120 to buy, if you didn't know that. The only place that I feel this would ever be worth it is if you fucked up really bad near the end of the level, since you need to have 20 Pikmin at the end to get this badge over the level to show you did it. I just feel though this makes the game way too easy since you already don't have to care all that much about most of your Pikmin, since if one dies or two dies, a nest is usually a few feet away to get them back. It only really becomes an issue if more than 4 die and you can't get them back up to 20. The Olimar Amiibo does the same thing but can only ever give you back 4. This game also has a unique idea with Amiibos I do like. In the stages there's these Amiibo levels. These are how you get the exclusive Amiibo statues. By scanning a character Amiibo, you can get their statue in the level. These levels are like a secret spot levels where it's a puzzle level to get... Fucking Christ, I said level 20 times. But you get a reward at the end. You're not missing much if you don't do these. They have characters from Super Mario, Animal Crossing, and even Splatoon. In total, there's 41 statues to collect. The main issue with this is the fact you have 2 options to get all of these. Either 1, own all of the 41 Amiibos, which some of these Amiibos are more than the game at launch now. Option 2 is you buy the Pikmin Amiibo that was hard to find at launch and now goes for double the cost of the game now. So you see, if you use the Pikmin Amiibo, you can scan it to randomly unlock one of the Amiibo statues that you need. You can get about 5 Amiibo each per sector, but only once a day can this be done. You can fast forward your 3DS clock, but it's still an annoying process. The only thing you get for doing this is you get to see how this game writes about the characters. And it's nice, but man, is this really such a waste for Amiibos that cost $12.99 when they first come out. It's not an issue with the game, but Amiibos really needed better uses in games, especially now that getting almost any of these for retail price is next to impossible. Well, with all that now covered, we can finally dive into the levels of the game and what I thought about them. The first world I can easily say is probably the most boring world in the game. I can understand anyone who bought this game and played the first world and just quit. These levels look great and again, love the music, but you start to realize how slow this game can be. Whatever reason, most puzzles in this world end up being block pushing puzzles where you watch your Pikmin push a block while you can only stand there and do nothing. You also run into the same puzzle quite a lot and even in the same level, or you're waiting around for the Pikmin to bring you back a collectible because God forbid you wander off too far from them. This is when I realized that maybe the Pikmin formula doesn't work in 2D. Before anyone says anything, yes, Pikmin has waiting. I would be dumb to say that there's not moments where you have to wait. The difference in the 3D games, you usually have options to do other tasks, especially in the first game where managing your time matters so much. While the Pikmin could be building or taking something to the ship, you can be out with other Pikmin searching for parts. The Pikmin also don't need to be watched and will make sure the item or material gets to their required destination. In this, if I end up walking back where I came from, there's nothing back there, And if I walk forward to progress instead of waiting for the Pikmin to bring the item down, the Pikmin can get lost and die. You really need to be around your Pikmin at all times, especially if you want to end the level with 20 Pikmin, because these guys have such bad separation anxiety to the point, I guess they just end up having a brain hemorrhage and then they die. We do run into the yellow Pikmin who are used to reach further areas since they can be thrown further than the red ones can. The issue here is we meet the red and yellow Pikmin, but nothing is ever presented to us to use their abilities, like how the red can withstand fire and the yellow can take a toaster bath and be fine. The first world is just too safe and boring. The only level worth noting was the Mushroom Valley level, and that's because of the bouncy mushrooms and how it makes you time your Pikmin throws with moving mushrooms to help them reach spots you normally couldn't get them to. But this is only done one time in the whole stage. This still is my favorite level in this world, but there's not much going on here. The next level I really hated a lot because for a good amount of this level, I saw these robotic spiders and assumed I needed the yellow Pikmin to kill them because when I threw my red Pikmin at them, the hitboxes for these guys are so off, nothing happened. Turns out I could kill them, I'm just stupid. This stage also loves just making you push blocks. Someone over at the office must not be allowed to play Minecraft at the risk of him blowing his fucking load for how much this game loves block puzzles. This is also where I learned about one of the dumbest things Olimar for whatever reason has. You can walk off ledges from high up and fall with no problem. The second you use his jetpack, he goes up and can float around, but as soon as you drop, Olimar will do this stupid bounce thing no matter how far you fell down, and this can cause you to either get hit or worst cases... Oh god, I'm dead. Are you fucking... I did the same exact thing and I tried to get away and I jumped on my Pikmin and it bounced me in the air and I died. Like, I really just don't get why this move makes you do that when, as far as I can tell, there is no fall damage. I also just remembered never mentioning his jetpack. It's just a way for Olimar to hover across gaps and get to higher places, but the level design never is creative with it and makes it crystal clear when it should be and shouldn't be used. Anytime I try to think outside the box with it, the game made sure it wasn't possible unless the game wants you to use the jetpack. The other level in this world are these Sparklium Springs. They're just used to get a bunch of Sparklium really fast. If you're good and can manage getting them plus the clocks to give you more time, you can easily walk out of these levels with over 300 Sparklium. There are also bosses in each world, but I'll cover the bosses in a later part when I talk about them all back to back. I can say this being the first world is probably the worst way to try to keep players invested. This really made me just dread this game, and I really was ready to say how this game would be shit just like everyone else said. It probably doesn't help since the next world is a water world, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, including me at this point, probably ended up seeing that the second level was a water world and just said screw this and quit. Sector 2, as stated, is the water world to this game, and like most water levels, we all know they're all shit, but have great music for no reason. Now, I 100% did not ever expect this to be my feelings toward these levels, but the water world was my favorite in the whole game. One of the biggest what the fuck moments I've ever had, but this world is amazing. One of the reasons being you actually can move freely once underwater in any direction, giving you reasons and choice of exploring while Pikmin may be doing something or just wanted to see if there's something to see under or above you. You also move way faster underwater than you do on land, meaning traversing isn't as tedious, and you can aim straight ahead underwater. We also meet the blue Pikmin here, and for whatever reason, they actually introduced the Pikmin who can breathe underwater with the stage that has water in it. Who would have thought you could do something like that? Unlike the other two Pikmin having nothing to even showcase their abilities, it's just weird that they did it with the blue ones. These stages somehow made me really start to love the game and have fun with it and what I was doing. The stages are still linear, but have paths you can wander off to find collectibles, and some of these paths require you to really explore the areas underwater instead of just running left or right. It's just nice to feel like I have an expansive area to explore instead of linear hallways. Biggest issue I will say here is that these levels love having you dodge enemies that shoot up from the ground quite a lot. It just gets kind of old after a while. The second stage has streams that can make you run faster going down them, making sure you master your ability to fight the stream to get collectibles, but also use it to your advantage to speed through levels. For whatever reason, World 2 has a hard-on for being chased by things. The first and second level has you being chased by an enemy while you have to keep moving forward while collecting Sparklium. The first having this giant spike ball, while the second level has this man and you can easily just get hit and not have to worry about him. So I don't know why they just didn't do the spike ball again. This world really takes advantage of the two screens, allowing you to take on puzzles in ways the devs probably didn't even intend. My first example of this was the golden flower here. I saw it from the top screen and was able to aim my Pikmin at it to hit the flower, causing the Sparklium to fall down the river to the pool where I was. I then decided to swim under the water just to learn the intended path was to take the vine and climb up to then fight the river to get the flower. I was able to think outside the box and get it my own way, allowing me to actually experiment with the game's mechanics, which ends up being Hey Pikmin's strongest point. There's actually a few examples of this happening in the game, where you have puzzles and the devs made a way that they want you to do it, but then you realize there's few other options of doing it. Some may be more tedious in the actual intended way, but boy do I feel so rewarded for doing it how I want. The third level in this world finally gives us a reason to use yellow Pikmin for more than just their reach. You end up using yellow Pikmin to make electric paths for these flowers to glow and act as platforms, and the game does such a brilliant way of showing you this is their function instead of telling you. You walk up to see the yellow Pikmin being shocked, so you call them down. So some players may pick up here on how that's what we'll use them for, while others may think it's just them being hurt or them messing around. Some may not even notice the glowing flowers at the top or why it's glowing. Well, the game makes sure that you're 100% sure this is what they're used for. As they come down the hill, the 4 Pikmin will fall into a stick that has the shocking flower roots to then instantly activate the flowers around you and have them burst with light. It's a quick showcase on how this actually works and I love it. We also get introduced to our first electric enemy, the wide-mouthed node beetle. You can only damage him with yellow Pikmin and you have to keep hitting him till he flips over. I do kind of wish they would have shown off this guy way before you had yellow Pikmin to make sure that some players realize that you can't just throw whatever Pikmin at them and have it work, but maybe also seeing yellow Pikmin being shocked and then being okay with it afterwards probably gets the job done. One thing I really like that this level does with the wide-mouthed node beetles is being able to have them light up flowers as well, requiring you to use them to help get around or grab things that you normally couldn't grab. It's also pretty cool that even though this is a water world, this game isn't going to make us be in the water 24/7. I do think out of all the levels so far, this has been my favorite in Sector 2. The next stage's main gimmick is the falling crystals you have to dodge while having the water back to explore. The water area here does end up being a little more linear than the other two. One thing this level did that surprised me was having a little area here where you can jetpack up to, but only if you take the terrain into play. The game really never takes advantage of the terrain and makes it pretty clear where you can jetpack up to, so this is one of the few times where it does. You even get rewarded with more Pikmin and a Sparklium flower if you end up doing this. I know this isn't a very impressive puzzle, but at least it finally did something with a jetpack that wasn't just fly over open gap. That was Sector 2, and again, it's such a whiplash in quality for the levels and designs. I don't get how the first sector doesn't even come close to how good the levels here are. It's again why I said if you just stopped playing before beating the first world or stopped after you saw the second world was a water area, I don't blame you one bit. Sector 3 is next, and it's going to be more heavy with the crystal theme we saw from the earlier level. I do enjoy when this game brings back past level ideas for future levels, but gives them a pretty fun spin to it. When we finally arrived at the first level, we only have red Pikmin to help us, and the paths we can take that aren't blocked by crystals aren't very many. We even run into an enemy that's basically just a giant crystal rock, so nothing we can do with that either. This is when we finally take a path and drop down to then discover a new Pikmin type, the rock Pikmin. The scene here even shows us how they can break crystals by showing them slamming into it to break it, which like before is a nice way of showing us how they work. Then the game pauses us to tell us how they can break objects such as crystals after showing us they can do said thing. Meaning my praise for the moment before probably was just an oversight by the devs and how they forgot to tell us that yellow Pikmin can light up the flowers in that level. Once you finally acquire the rock Pikmin, you're able to now open up the stage and go through paths you couldn't before because they're blocked by crystals. But even though now you can break crystals, you also have to make sure that you don't break every crystal because some of them will actually lock you out of collectibles if you break them. It really makes the stage kind of come off as a small Metrovania world, having multiple paths now that you can take thanks to your new power you acquired. The second stage of this world introduces the bomb rocks, and I mean it wouldn't be a Nintendo game without bombs. Reminds me how in OOT speedrunning, their pace spins were getting flagged, and they all suspected it had something to do with the fact that they mentioned bombs so much, so they were flagging it for terrorist acts or something. The way these bombs work is that they will start to explode if thrown and will tick down for a few seconds before they explode. The issue that makes me kinda hate them is the fact they can bounce around and roll. Kinda wish they were so heavy they fell hard and stayed in place. After doing some research, I learned that in past games only yellow Pikmin could use these bombs, but in this game only the red are able to pick them up and throw them. I personally feel having a magma exploding rock does make more sense to be used, as the Pikmin are immune to heat and fire, which is what I would say if they actually were. The third level again brings us to another crystallized cave, with the weight being a mechanic here. These flowers will bounce you to a certain height based on how many Pikmin you have with you on the flower. This cute cutscene even plays, showing us how the flower can be used to help the Pikmin reach Sparkleum for us. Another nice way of showing instead of stopping us to outright tell us. This level also has a big gimmick with doors and having them lead to different areas, or the same area but next to the previous door. Besides these two things, this ended up being my least favorite stage in this world and just felt slow paced and boring. The last stage here seemed to take some ideas from a previous game they helped to work on, and in this level you have these enemies who are constantly shooting at you from the back, and you have to make sure you're not under their shots. And at first I liked it and enjoyed the Yoshi Island feel, but man, does this shit get fucking annoying. Good luck beating this level in a reasonable amount of time if you want to finish with 20 Pikmin. This was actually the first level where I lost all my Pikmin, surprisingly. This is when I learned almost nothing happens if you lose your Pikmin besides having to backtrack a little to get more. This stage is just a huge pace breaker and constantly had me trying to do tasks to then have to just walk away a little bit to not get hit and then walk back. If things couldn't get any worse, they decided to put 2 of these spawns of hatred next to a Pikmin rock. And this again was before I learned you could just tap, but good fucking lord, was this like stomping my dick out. This shit sucks, dude. Oh hey look, a good game. Wait, what the hell? Why is it called that? Didn't Mario save the gaming industry back then? Or is this a metaphor for how life is meaningless and we're all meant to one day fade, as none of us can even keep up with the flow of time and speed of the ever-changing existence we never even asked to be in, but forced, as all creativity is destroyed for the sake of a worker who can profit another man's wallet, full of riches, till we no longer can feel any purpose. Mario is a game about a man who can jump high. Whee! This level can eat shit, I hate it. Well, there's at least one left. Sector 3 had some strong moments, but the bad moments really were bad. Sector 4 is on a construction site, as the ground and surroundings are rusted pipes and metal flooring. The gimmick here are these platforms that will launch you when you stand on them. The stage is pretty cool since you have to search for a good amount of the stage to even get Pikmin. You even pass the rock Pikmin here but can't get them since the pad launches you too far up, making the puzzle be how to navigate the pass to make it to the Pikmin. It's also a really vertical stage. You don't see that much often in this game. Once you make it to the top, you can start clearing all the paths, making it a fun trek down. The second stage is just kind of more of the same as the first, but you get Pikmin early on. There's just a lot of random ways you can go both vertically and horizontally. The third level has a gimmick that I really love. You get introduced to these flowers that Pikmin seem to love jumping on. This cute cutscene plays showing this. This gimmick ends up being a way to have your Pikmin stay in one place because there's a huge roadblock within the stage. The stage itself is flooded with water. Only the blue Pikmin can survive in the water. What makes this stage really interesting is the fact that you don't get blue Pikmin till the very end. Once you get them, you can then swim around and search for the missing collectibles. You also only ever get 6 blue Pikmin, meaning if they die, you're basically going to be out of luck. This is the first stage in the game where I actually felt scared about a Pikmin dying. It finally gives off the tension that I've been wanting. The stage now ends up being a puzzle of how do I navigate my Pikmin and make sure they get safely across as you look for flowers to throw them on. This makes this level stand out from all the other levels in the world. Before anyone tries, don't try to damage boost your way through the water sections. You will look like an idiot for trying and everyone will laugh at you. There's also one of the coolest creatures here in the level, but man, this game needs to do a better job indicating I'm even hurting it. It's called the Elongated Crushblat, and the way you beat him is by hitting his knees 10 times with Pikmin until he comes crashing down. I'm sorry, but 10 times? It's why when I was doing this, I felt like I was doing something wrong. I started to hit him, causing him to just turn around, making me think doing that just makes him turn around. And I had to actually go under him for the room since he's blocking the way out for the blue Pikmin. I thought that was the solution, and I ended up actually dying here because of it. Level 4 is more annoying than fun. The issue you have are these electric butterflies that will keep respawning to then dive bomb you. The designs are cool, but it already brings this slow paced game to a slower pace when I have to stop whatever I'm doing to then throw a Pikmin at it. I do like this puzzle where you throw yellow Pikmin at electric currents to light up the flowers. This time they're small, making you actually have to aim at them. It's cute. Sector 4 is kind of a hit or miss. It has one of the stronger levels for tension here, but then also has pretty safe and boring levels. Biggest issue here is all the levels look exactly the same for the most part. The theming is nice though, and it gives me a very quiet forest vibe from Kirby 64, but it's just kinda a meh world. Sector 5 is the autumn forest theme and somehow never gave me quiet forest vibes like the last world did. So I don't know. The cool thing about this world is we get introduced to the flying Pikmin, and one of the best things about them is their ability to be thrown straight. They even have the ability to lift stuff up for you, and they can bring you to higher places and can help you float down after walking off ledges. Flying Pikmin are also able to follow you even after using the jetpack, unlike all the other Pikmin. They have to be my favorite Pikmin to use by far. As for the rest of the level, it just has a lot of steep drops, and you use your Pikmin to float you down the paths you need to take. The coolest part about the first stage is this drop where you're next to thorny vines and have to avoid them while floating down and getting Sparklium, but this stage besides this moment is kind of forgettable. It's not horrible to get through, but I don't think I would ever have any reason to pick this game up and go, I want to play this one. The second stage takes the ending part from the first stage and turns it up to 10, having you start off with an open area with vines everywhere. There's even wind tunnels you have to avoid that push you in directions you don't want to go. And there's even sections where you hit flying enemies to get Sparklium from them, making it feel like an old classic Space Invaders game. Then the level picks up its pace while making you go into these wind tunnels where you're chasing these guys for the Sparklium bag. Overall, this stage is fun and fast, and I really like it a lot. The third level has these cool water droplets on all of these plants, and you can even use the plants as platforms, and it's even raining here, and if you get hit by the rain, it doesn't really do anything except knock you back. This level seems to bring back stuff from previous levels like these DSL eels, plus the river banks. One of the puzzles here is needed to hover across these leaf platforms, but the water hitting them will knock you off if you're on it, meaning you have to time your jumps just right to avoid this. It's a nice puzzle, and the game really shines with its more environmental puzzles. The fourth stage is just an auto-scroller where you have to use a flying Pikmin to move up and down to avoid obstacles while getting Sparklium. I do think it's a fun level, but I would not have ended this world on this if I made the game. But again, these are the devs who made the critically acclaimed Balan Wonderland and Terra Wars, so what do I know? Sector 6 is the burning wasteland world of the game, and we finally get to see the fire Pikmin do stuff like put out fire by jumping on it. I'll be real, this first level just brings back the vibes of the first sector, but just on fire. The only thing of note really is the fact I learned about the secret exits in certain levels. Apparently there's 2 exits you can take in some worlds giving you an X level to play. I personally couldn't find any other exits, but people said it's very easy to find them. The X level has you floating down and avoiding fire, so pretty much like the levels before. The mushrooms even come back, and I really love these mushrooms a lot. The next level big gimmick is dodging these spiky balls that come at you with a lot of vertical parts. That's kinda it. Not much going on here and not even much fire stuff happening anymore. The last stage here brings back the rock Pikmin and has you navigating through fire paths with the yellow and rock Pikmin, using blocks to put out the fire and just outright avoiding the fire. The only thing I can say about this level is be careful with these puzzles because this can happen. You can also find these water-filled plants and use them to put out the fires. The issue with these is they're always in the same place and you can't bring them anywhere. I would have really enjoyed it if we could bring these to other parts of the level to put out fires, but that's just not what this game does. The 7th sector is just the ice world. It has snow, slippery floors, crystals, you name anything ice related, it's probably here. There's a really cool enemy here that's a jellyfish guy with a long tongue. It's a clicking slurker. I like them even if the name is dumb. At first level overall, it's pretty meh. Not bad, but not much happens besides a few sliding down ice moments near the end. The second stage gets rid of the ice and brings us back to the cave. One cool part of this is there's a pipe that you can break a block that's on top of the pipe, and it makes the water drain, and what's an interesting thing, the water enemies will still be there, but they will be flopping around. I'll give Hey Pikmin props, because most games would have just despawned the enemies if you did this. The second level is just like the first. It's not bad, but it's also not memorable at all. And this may also just be a me thing, but damn does this game overuse cave levels. There's at least 1 to 2 cave levels in every world. The third level is a sled level, and I really wanted to like this since I love Ice Cap, but man, do you realize the only reason why that moment is cool is because of how fast paced the music is and the tricks you can pull off. to the point that in episode 36 of the Battle Network NT Warrior series, he says kablamo for about half the episode, to the point that that's most of his dialogue. I don't know.
I'm guessing that episode's called Kablamoed.
No, the episode's called What is Horseman Up To?
In this level, you can move pretty fast, and you have to keep up with enemies and hit them to get the collectibles out of them. But man, this music being clown circus style music just ruins any fast-paced feeling from this. I also feel it's really annoying to line up with some enemies, and the time you have to do it can make it way harder than needed. I wouldn't say this couldn't be someone's favorite, but it's just not mine. It was the first stage though that I did beat with 20 Pikmin, so I mean there's that. The fourth level here are these guys whose main purpose is to push you around. They're cute and remind me of sweet food. You beat them by pushing them back with your own Pikmin, just make sure not to toss your own Pikmin off with them. I made that mistake a few times and I murdered them because of it. These enemies actually can be used as bouncy platforms, and I really love when this game can use things like that live in the actual environment over springs or just obvious platforms that are placed there. Makes the game feel more lived in. That being said, I'm not sure why the tadpole creatures are out here in the snowy areas, but maybe they're built to survive, I don't really know. These bouncy guys just make the level fun for me. Later in the level, you can even see them spinning like Beyblades, and it's just so adorable. I also had this happen, which was pretty funny seeing it. That was Sector 7, and overall was fine for an ice world, nothing special, but an enjoyable time at the very least. Sector 8 has this magical fairy feel to it. The first level ends up being really unique, having these dragonflies be the main gimmick, needing them to traverse over the poison and having you switch between them. I really liked it more than I thought, and so far I can easily say this is the most beautiful world in the game. The second level's main gimmick was the plastic bottles bobbing up in the poison liquid, with some being fully submerged and coming out, while others were not. For whatever reason, I kept having this really annoying thing happen where I would throw my Pikmin to hit something on the bottles just to have them decide to start walking on their own. This stage does a good job at making sure you don't rush either, and take your time, and if you were to not take your time, you're destined to die from the bottles fully submerging in poison. With that being said, it was a harmless level, but not as good as the first one. We even got 30,000 Sparkulum after beating the stage, but we learned we're missing a crucial item needed to leave the planet. So rip to anyone who farmed at the first level over and over to leave the planet earlier or something. The next level is interesting because a good amount of the time you're fighting against stony flint beetles who are pushing blocks at you to crush you or make you fall into pits. You can use your Pikmin to push them back, and before they die, they always just fly away like cowards. Overall, this level was fun, but again, I'm just getting sick of how many cave stages this game loves to have. The next stage was also another extra stage, and this is the worst stage in the game. Not only is it a auto-scroller for the majority of it, it's an auto-scroller with the cannons that constantly shoot at you. It's so bad to the point the game chucks here to even play with how much shit will be on screen. One of the collectibles also requires you to grab a bomb that you can almost have no time to grab and carry it to the end of the stage while being shot by cannons. This stage is literally garbage. I'm glad I'm not 100% in this game because this would have been a nightmare. Well, that was Sector 8. With each sector being talked about, I think it's finally time to talk about the bosses of each sector. One of the biggest complaints about the bosses in the game is that they're way too easy. They're taken down in less than a minute or require no challenge at all. On one hand, yeah, they're right. The bosses all have a very easy to spot pattern and take about 3 to 2 cycles to kill. They are in fact easy. I do, however, think that just saying that because they're easy, they're bad, really devalues the bosses here. By no means am I saying these are the best bosses I've ever fought, but I do think there's value here with them. I also think the whole argument of the boss is simple or easy, so it's bad is dumb. I mean, look at Ocarina of Time with this boss, Goma. Goma is such an easy boss even for your first playthrough, but it's still a fun and exciting time to do it. You also can beat Goma in less than 20 seconds if you know what you're doing. And even if you don't, it should take you less than a minute to beat this boss. With Goma having those two problems, I still would never say that this is a horrible fight. The first boss in Hey Pikmin I love because it's a familiar enemy, that being the Bulborb. It's actually the only time they ever appear in the game. It's a nice first boss because it's something Pikmin fans old and new would easily recognize, and the two screens being used here to really show the size of him compared to you, it just feels really nice. I also love that you can hit him in the eyes to stun him and then run under him to hit from the back side. You even have to make sure you aim to hit the eyes because one wrong move, your Pikmin are going to be in the mouth of the beast. These fights really do make your Pikmin matter because once you run out of them, you lose. Not saying you will really ever have this happen since again, they are easy, but it's nice to see the tension is there. The Bulbor boss I feel is a great first boss for the game, and I don't think I could have anything else here. The second boss is a long water Dumple, and again he's easy, but I love how you have to dodge his dash attacks and avoid his mouth, and the mouth actually has a pretty huge hitbox, but once you dodge, you can just start to throw all your Pikmin at him. I love the feeling of just unleashing all of your units at a boss to swarm them. The boss will also go to the background to start knocking rocks at us, and I really like it a lot. There's a good amount of stuff going on in this fight for sure, and bringing Zelda back up, it's certainly a comparable fight to the Lakebed Temple boss. You know, the boss that actually can't hurt you in any way, but people still love because of this moment right here. The third boss is Armork. The fight is really simple, but boy do I love this fight for sure. When the fight starts, you'll probably try everything to break through his shell as he slowly pushes you into a corner, just to then see him lift up to do a crushing attack. Your only option is to knock him back, and this is so satisfying. Seeing him trying to push down as you keep throwing Pikmin to then see him flip over and run away as now he's in fear of you, it's a really fun fight. The fourth boss is Electric Cottonade. This boss sucks. It's actually not even programmed correctly, funny enough. His main attack he does is summoning a giant lightning bolt to hit you from above. The thing is though, the devs didn't program him correctly to be able to hit you with this attack. So if you don't move, he will never be able to hit you. He will always aim slightly ahead of you every single time, I'm not even joking. It's impossible to hit you with his main attack if you just don't move. What's weird is the rest of his attacks work fine, but it's mostly because they're programmed to hit a single spot. But Jesus man, how did that not get fixed in any way? I'm pretty sure someone would have had to notice, hey, if I just don't move, I don't get hit, but I guess not. This boss also becomes really annoying to even damage yourself. The fight uses both screens, but unlike the first fight, you could see where you needed to hit from the bottom screen, making it easy to aim. Here, his hitbox is on the very top screen, and he summons things around him to make sure you have to aim correctly to hit him, but because he's on the top screen, you might as well be aiming blindly in a direction. I hate this boss, I really do. It's so bad. The fifth boss regarding my Space Invaders comment from before is exactly that, a classic Space Invaders match. You have to beat all of his minions to burst through and do damage to Queen Shearwig. This fight, if you know what you're doing, can be beaten in less than a minute, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this, and it's a nice end to the world to make sure if you really did master your Flying Pikmin's abilities. It's one of the few bosses besides the water one that feels the most different than the other ones. The same issue with the top and bottom screen does apply here, but it's a lot easier to aim blindly straight up than it is to aim at angles. The sixth boss is a fiery blowhog, and you have to use bombs from before to blast him and then run through the doors to attack him from behind. Making good use of your speed and timing because if you move too slow, he will get back up. It's an easy fight, but something is always going on at all times, so there's really not a dull moment in this fight where you're just sitting around waiting. The seventh boss is a luring Slurker. It's basically one of those jellyfish enemies I love but bigger. Your main goal is to attack him when he goes to grab water and knock him down. He will also freeze himself and dive bomb you, but it's pretty easy to dodge. I also love that he even tricks you to think he's going to attack at first and will even rain ice down on you. The platform you're also standing on will rise and lower, making some attacks have more or less time to dodge. This, in my opinion, is one of the simpler bosses, but I still love it. The eighth boss is the Emperor Bulblax. What's cool is that even to start the fight, you have to blow your whistle to wake him up, and I love just how giant he is compared to you. He's beaten by throwing a bomb where he will bite at, and then throwing all your Pikmin at him. What's interesting is he can even eat a Pikmin holding a bomb, and this will still count as an attack on him, meaning Pikmin can now be suicide bombers. Again, an easy fight, but man, do I love these giant bosses. Finally, all the bosses are beaten, and we unlock Sector 9 as we located where our last needed ship part is. I want to say this right now, I don't know what the final bosses are like in the other games, but man, if they're anything like this, I'm all for it. This fight is against the Berserk Leech Hydro. It's one of the prettiest bosses in the game with his pink and green design. Apparently this guy is so threatening that the first thing you see is Pikmin running away from it. The first phase you have is dodging the poison attacks and waiting for him to bite down so you can start attacking. Once he's down to half health, he begins to transform. He begins to walk as what looks like bones for legs propped out of the ground. The second fight has you knocking his feet away so he can't step on you, and even will try to use both feet to crush you. Once you knock his feet back, then you can start attacking him. After beating his second form, the final transformation happens. Both heads and body wilt away. It's as if the Hydro knows it lost, but it refuses to give up. Not wanting to give in, it begins to sprout wings and flies into the air, showing its final form. This fight has you running over to it to annoy him so he'll bite down to then attack his head while dodging his massive poison balls. Even then does a giant poison laser you need to dodge. It's not the hardest fight, but man, is this a spectacle. Once defeated, we learn that this thing controlling him was our ship part that caused him to be mutated. We get the part back, and it's finally time to say goodbye to the Pikmin. The credits roll as we then cut to Olimar flying through space, as before, but this time, he makes it home safe. Safe and sound to live for another adventure. The text then appears on the screen, and it says, "Thanks for everything, Pikmin." Hey Pikmin was quite the ride. It had very high moments indeed, but also plenty of low moments. If you were to ask me if I would recommend this game, my answer is a yes, but also no. It's really hard for me to recommend this game to anyone, mostly because the game doesn't start getting decent or good till a whole world is beaten. Best way I can explain it is to just think of the first world as an hour-long tutorial that teaches you simple mechanics that can be learned in 10 minutes max. I do think Hey Pikmin is an above average game and a decent experience, but I would feel weird telling you yes, I would recommend a game that you have to slog an hour through to even start enjoying it. The only game I ever could recommend in a context like that is Kingdom Hearts 2, since at least with the 2-hour tutorial it's part of the main story, and really hits how hard it was for Roxas to let go and find out everything he knew was a lie. You can also skip all the cutscenes and make it go from 2 hours to like 15 minutes, so that does certainly help on multiple playthroughs. That certainly doesn't happen here, but hopefully I was able to shine a new light on the game. I feel with Pikmin 4 finally being announced, people may be more open to checking it out. I do think not playing the other Pikmin games did help me come with a more open mind, but that's just a theory. A game! Sorry guys. This Skinwalker here, he asked me to come to the park. He took over my body. He decided to ruin my image by playing this fucking garbage game, Hey Pikmin. But I finally found my way back, so I think it's time we start. I think it's time we start to play Pikmin 1. So we start our adventure off by crash landing on a mysterious